Today, we've got a cool episode as we've got two different sellers at the opposite end of the spectrum, both having different levels of success. First up, we've got a brand new seller who started selling 30 units a day from day one. And then we've got another seller who actually is going to be selling $25 million this year on Amazon. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Are you browsing a Shopify, Walmart, Etsy, Alibaba, or Pinterest page and maybe you see a cool product that you want to get some more data on? Well, while you're on those pages, you can actually use the Helium 10 Chrome extension Demand Analyzer to get instant data about what's happening on Amazon for those keywords on these other websites. Or maybe you want to then follow up and get an actual supplier quote from a company on Alibaba.com in order to see if you can get this product produced. You can do that also with the Helium 10 Demand Analyzer. Both of these are part of the Helium 10 Chrome extension, which you can download for free at h10.me/extension. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I'm your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the e-commerce world. And we are having a couple of guests today. Anas, how's it going?
Good, Bradley. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Now, I just got back from Asia. I'm here in California now. Where in the world are you right now?
So I'm actually in Edmonton, Alberta. It's darn cold, so you're probably enjoying in California, but it's pretty freezing here. It's about negative, I think 20 degrees outside.
Goodness gracious! All right, that's pretty cool. Now, I've seen you all over the world. Be it in Germany and Pakistan and here in the United States. But we haven't sat down and talked shop. And I was talking to Saddam a couple weeks ago. And I was like, Saddam, you heard any cool stories lately about one of your clients or one of your team who's got something to say? And I'm looking for some fresh blood for the podcast, and I want to hear some cool strategies. He's like, hey, Anas had this really cool launch, and I'm like, stop there. I don't want to hear anything else. I like to hear this stuff first, so I know nothing except about that you were involved in some kind of launch. Now,
Yep.
Is this for your own product or one of your clients, or what happened here?
So it was my own. So basically, what I've been doing at AMZ One Step is I'm the digital marketing director, but I've been doing everything outside of the Amazon space. So I'm, I know when you started off, you said serious sellers. This was my first launch, and it was my personal launch, and I can start from the scratch.
Well, hold on. So was it you've been working with AMZ One Step and seeing clients just make a gazillion dollars, having success, and you're like, wait a minute, I want a piece of this action. Is that kind of how you got inspired, or what?
I also wanted to dip my toes into some of the Amazon stuff because I was doing everything outside of Amazon. I typically just do Shopify stores and Google ads and Facebook ads and everything respective to that. And we had been launching products for some of our clients over the past year or so. And I was like, if our team's doing it, I want to launch my own product as well. So how it started off was this was about 8 months ago. So it took us probably around 8 months to do a full launch, which is a really long time. Typically it's a lot, shorter, but this was our third product that we actually got samples for. And
Are we talking for the U.S. market? What was your product research method?
So Helium 10 was being used primarily, and basically, I've been a lot on the back burner essentially. The team was doing a lot of the heavy lifting. I honestly don't know half of the stuff. All I know is you have to find a product. You have to use your 4 criteria method. How we differentiated as part of that was when we actually looked at the products, they found the product niche that I went in. It was kitchen products. There were still some a lot of competitors selling that had 25,000 reviews, right? We're entering into the same market, and it was very hard.
Why?
See,
Well,
that's
that you're doing exactly the thing that we teach not to. So like what I'm sure maybe there was something that gave you an idea though that you might have success. So I'm just wondering your thought process there.
yeah, for sure, and that's what I was saying. Like they had tons of reviews. There was a
I'm
lot
like,
of
but
big
come on, we're
brands.
supposed to have serious strategies. That's not a serious, like everybody's like, oh, I got to go find a market where everybody's got 25,000 reviews if I'm going to be successful. What are
Yeah,
we teaching people out here now?
yeah. So the difference between like our launch and what they were already selling was the number of like kind of bundled products as part of it. So they had like a set of three, and we saw that people were selling like single units. So we upped the game and we did like a set of four, and nobody really was doing that.
There we go. All right, so let's pause here. I was just busting his balls a little bit there, but I knew it had to be something like that. Like I've said before, like you got to think like a buyer, guys, when you're trying to get ready for or look for a opportunity. And then like me personally, if all things are equal, and I see 5 products or 10 products on the top of page one that have 10,000 reviews, and a brand new product I've never heard of and has 0 reviews, why would I ever in the want to get that 0 that one that has 5 reviews or 0 reviews? Well, there's a chance though. It's not if you're able to differentiate, or if you have something that nobody else has, where they're like, what, this doesn't have reviews, but I really need a red one and everybody's got blue. Then the reviews don't matter. Or what, I really need 4. I don't want 3. This one has no reviews, but I'll get it. So just remember, guys, don't always just completely disregard a niche just because of the review level. Here we have a great example of how you can overcome that. All right, continue the story, please.
Yep. And then the second thing that we did was when I was searching for a brand name, again, this is like a brand new brand, I kind of like I was like, okay, what can I do that will make me look like a very, very big brand? And we did a spin-off of like KitchenAid, respectively. I don't want to say my brand name, but
It's
it's
fine.
very close to that. So it kind of just put that, emphasis that this is not like, you know, a random brand that just is after my name or something like that. So it I feel that also has an impact when somebody just says,
Did
"Oh,
you get brand registry?
we did, yeah, 100%,
So you must have got a trademark
we
for it.
did, yeah."
In what country did you get the trademark? Canada or US?
Just because my experience is like outside of Amazon, what I always do is I make sure that a domain name exists. Okay, so if I know a domain name exists, that means like not a lot of people are actually there, as well as like you don't have to fight battles afterwards, like when you think your brand's gonna like launch extensively.
Yeah.
So I think that was one more piece that I felt really helped in like kind of showing the product. So after
Okay,
that,
now let's take a couple steps back though. Like you were you got brand registry and everything, but before then, how did you source? Tell me about your sourcing. Before you even got to that step, because I'm sure you had like you said, you had to get samples and vet it. Like, did you only look at China? Did you look at any other countries? What was your sourcing process like?
we looked at China primarily. We used Alibaba,
Okay. Okay.
and basically we got a few samples from suppliers, and the highest quality. We didn't want to like just get the cheapest product. We
Sure.
wanted to focus on quality because we want to build this as a brand and not just like once the reviews start flowing in, you can see that like we have within 1 month, we've gotten about 10 reviews already.
Okay.
So it's a pretty, and they've been pretty phenomenal. The
Ten,
only, like,
10 written reviews or ratings? Like are you talking about the number, or you actually have 10 people who actually wrote something?
so we've gotten about, from what I can see, again, I'm not an Amazon expert.
Hey,
Um,
no, we have a lot of listeners who are exactly in your shoes, so don't feel bad at all. This is good.
so what I see is I see 10 on when I go on the listing, and then
Yeah.
when I look in the back end and I can
Yep.
actually see text, there's about 5 or 6
Okay.
that,
That's about standard, about half. Because nowadays people can just leave a star and then not write something, and actually that's a little bit high. Actually, now that I think about it, I think my ratio might be 4 to 1. So that's actually a good sign. If half the people actually wrote something, That means they really, they really like the product. All right, cool. So you sourced in China, got the product in. Now I'm just wondering how does that work? Are you a Canadian citizen? So when you registered in Amazon USA, did you like do it on Amazon Canada first and then like USA is like your second marketplace, or did you register as a Canadian business, or what did you do there?
So yeah, we registered as a Canadian business, and you
Okay.
can sell on Amazon USA through that. So
Okay. All right. And then I'm assuming, did you ship your inventory directly to Amazon, or did you go to a 3PL first and then drip some in?
directly to Amazon. So we just had an inspection in the middle, and
Okay.
basically, yeah, the
So
ship.
what was it, 500 units?
It was 1,000.
1,000. Wow. A
Yeah,
thousand units on your very first order. So yeah, that takes some confidence there. Okay.
and we're almost
Mhm.
sold out. So I just yesterday put
Wow.
in an order for air shipping. We ordered 3,000 more units, and yeah, we've actually. So I don't know if you want me to jump into it, but basically,
No, no, go ahead.
okay. So for the first month, we started off at a price of 9.99, and I have some stats here. So we started off at 9.99. We were making about $1 profit. Um, then we increased the price, and we went over to 10.99. At that point, FBA
No,
fees.
hold on. Let me ask you something though. Like, this is for whatever it was. The ones that are all three that have thousands of reviews. What was the retail price for those about?
They're about 12.99.
Okay, about 12 nights. Yeah, so hey, that's a strategy. Like
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I would have done that even if I lost money. You said you were still making $1, but
yeah.
usually when you launch, it's like, hey, you know what? I'm cool with losing money. I'm gonna have like this sales price just because I want it to make it a no brainer for people to buy. But they see three for 12.99, four for 9.99. Seems like it worked for you. What in the beginning though? Before you started getting momentum, like what was your strategy in order to, like, I'm sure you had, used Helium 10
Yeah.
to like target the keyword, like, hey, I know this is okay. I found out with Helium 10 this is the keyword that I need to get on page 1 for. So was it like, just some heavy PPC bidding, or how did you get that initial momentum?
So all we used was Cerebro, right? We made sure,
Okay.
so starting off with the listing, we made sure all the keywords were in the listing properly optimized. And again, the team completely took care of that. We made sure that all the images were very, very high quality. We didn't cheap out on, non-model kind of images. We went,
Did you do it at your Chinese studios?
we did, yeah. So we
I'm
actually,
actually, I don't know if you heard, but I've never done. I've always used, U.S. or Canada. I've used, the AMZ One Step Canada studio, for some Project X things. But then when I found out that you guys had the Chinese studio, I was like, you know what, that's actually a pretty good idea, because now I don't have to, send air sample or air freight, like, samples back and forth, and it could get stuck in customs.
yeah,
So I'm actually doing a test right now at probably that same studio that you
yeah.
did yours at, to just kind of like show people how it works. But that's pretty cool. So your images, you feel are like better than the competition.
I I think so, because
Hmm.
most of the competition, they're like bigger brands. So most of these bigger brands
Yeah.
typically don't even invest in like,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
right, like
100% right.
they just don't. So for us, we are focused on Amazon. They're just listing it as one of their other channels. So for us, we did like photography with models, and in our Chinese studio, we actually have Caucasian models as well. So it doesn't look like you're getting it done from China.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we also did a video as well, even though it was like a lower end kind of price point for a product, but we were like, I wanted to make sure it was the best that I could do, and I think that really really helped. So making sure that whenever somebody comes in, the conversion rate is through the roof.
Yeah. But then that's my question though, because like you could have the best, most amazing listing in the world,
Yep.
but if you're stuck on page 7, nobody's ever going to click on your listing. So like, how did you get those initial views? Like, how did you get your product in front of customers?
So I think, and again, the team managed everything, but what they did was they did a lot of heavy PPC initially.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah. So they set up all types of campaigns, from
Hmm.
my understanding. Uh, We basically, so from the numbers, it the first day we did about like 35 35 units sold
In the first day?
in the first day with zero
Good
reviews.
grief.
And that was very, very consistent. And basically, we started ranking really, really fast, and 70% of our sales were organic. So even though we were doing heavy PPC, it was just, I don't know how it was happening. That's why, we were like,
Huh.
what happened here? But
I bet you they were using some of the Maldives strategy we talk about, where they probably had. I mean, do you know? You don't have to tell me, but do you know what your main keyword, like your top one or two keywords are, like the highest search volume and like most important to your listing?
yeah, 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 for sure. So,
And are those keywords in your title?
of course, yeah.
See, there you go. Like if you've got the main keyword or keywords in the title, and you've got a brand new listing in the honeymoon period, and you push that PPC hard, you could get organically ranked even from day one sometimes. Very interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and we were in the top seven. So starting off, we were in the top seven, respectively, and we were basically getting about 30 to 40 per day sold
Wow.
consistently. And then we were like, we're going to run out of stock. Like 1,000 units will run out in less than a month. We have 25 days for the supplier to actually make the product. If we sea ship it, it's like another,
Yep. Yep.
25,
Yep.
30 days. So that's 2 months out. So what we decided was
What's the size about?
uh, the size of the actual product.
Like this water bottle, or like a coffin shelf, or
No, no, no. It's like it was pretty light product. They're
so
called
then
like
it's like you're not gonna lose a lot of money if you airship. In other words, because it's smaller on the smaller side.
yeah. I just so we just airshipped it. We got about it was $9.73 per kg for air shipping. I don't know if that's expensive.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
like 7 times more expensive than sea shipping.
Okay.
So we just sent over like about 500 units via air shipping and
Okay.
1,000 via like slow um, sea, and then 1,000 via like faster sea. So that way it like kind of splits it out. But that was like my biggest piece that I didn't comprehend or understand, because it's like 2 months. When you order something, it's going to take 2 months. So your inventory has to be ready, and you like kind of don't know how much is going to sell for a new launch. So you have to be like ready respectively. So the
Yep.
way that we countered it, we were like, we have to slow down sales. Even though we're making a profit, we have to slow it down respectively so we don't run out of
I don't
stock.
like to slow down sales. I'll tell you that right now. Like I tell people,
Yeah.
I'll sell out. Like if things are going crazy,
Hmm.
the natural reaction actually is to want to slow it down because you don't want to run out.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like what the danger in that, now it doesn't sound like that happened in yours, and this is not, there's not a one size fits all thing here, but most of the time the danger in trying to slow sales is because now all of a sudden your conversion is down, your page views are down, and you start losing organic rank. That being said, if a product, I have seen this before, if a product's in the honeymoon period, sometimes you don't even, you might start, you literally might start slowing the sales down, which normally on a mature listing would make the rank go down. But if it's in the honeymoon period, sometimes it doesn't go down. Is that what happened in your case? Like, even though you were slowing sales, the keyword rank stayed, or what happened?
So the keyword rank did stay.
Okay.
We went from about, and again, the first week it was all 30, 35, 30,
Yeah.
35, and we hit like 40 plus as well some days with like zero reviews. What we did throughout the month was just to we could close down the listing as well, and I know that doesn't impact from my understanding, it doesn't impact the actual ranking, but we just
Mm-hmm.
felt like we needed to test out different points as well. This was the first kind of,
Different price points.
yeah, and kind of see
Mm.
like what FBAFEs become, how much are actually selling, so then we can
Sure.
go out, with proper inventory and then have a good pricing strategy. So we put it at 12.92, not 12.99. I don't know if that makes a difference, but we put it at 12.92. Our sales are still like 2025, and we're still really happy with what's happening because we our strategy was, initially we were like, we'll close the listing, but then we were like, you know what? why. Let's just spend more money, get it out there. So it's already airshipped now as of yesterday,
Sure.
and we expect not to lose or not to finish our inventory, and then at that point we can kind of decide. We're making about $2.34 per unit,
Okay.
and we I think netted about $700 for the
Even after PPC and everything else.
after PPC it was close to negative 300. So we spent.
Okay. Okay. I was about to say, like, to be profitable on your first shipment, that's kind of crazy when you're launching. But that's actually pretty decent to only quote unquote lose $300 on a launch is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think going forward, just because our rankings are there,
Hmm.
our profit margin has significantly increased to be able to spend more on PPC.
Yeah.
Now that's a combination of like the old price, the middle price, and obviously the other ones. But now we're at the stage where each unit, including PPC costs on a daily basis, we're actually profitable.
All right. So I mean, hey, this is your first product, and selling 25, 30 a day. Some things we learn here, guys, is sometimes um one of the things is now we see why the keyword rank didn't go down. It wasn't just the fact that it's in the honeymoon period, which sometimes helps, but it's also their sales, didn't really go down, much. Their velocity stayed the same, and that's important. Like sometimes you should think about raising the price. You don't always have to be the cheapest, especially if you have more value, and you should always test like they did. Take the price up 50 cents, take it up $1. A/B split tests, different things. Amazon has that now. So, sometimes Amazon sellers thinks they have to always be the cheapest or just have some rock bottom price. But that's not always the case. So very interesting things. Now, what's your plan for, obviously, you're rushing shipments left and right. Like, are you already starting to look at other products you might be able to sell under this new brand that you guys started, or are you just trying to double down on this for a while, or what's your plan going forward?
So I think both. We're trying to make sure that this kind of product still maintains its sales velocity as well as we have enough inventory, as well as we're trying to like split it up. So a lot of competitors have like single units. So we're trying to see if we could enter that market. We looked at other marketplaces as well, so Canadian as well as the UK side, but there weren't enough sales respectively to like go in yet.
Sure.
So we feel kind of like from what I've heard as well as like what I've seen, brands last versus just a single product, right? So if you could
Yeah.
have a brand and like multiple products there, I think it just helps respectively to like creating that brand, and they usually last a longer time versus just having a single product that could be anything could happen in terms of seasonality or respectively for that. So
I love it. All right, so in a year or so, I want to reach back and let's see. Who knows? Maybe your price will be $14.99, and you guys are selling 50 units a day. So let's. I'd be curious to see how's it going. But hey, guys, if you're out there and you're brand new to Amazon, jump in. He wouldn't have had this if he gave up. After the first couple of samples, he didn't like it. He could have just given up. Some people do that. But he's like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm all in. I'm getting 1,000 units and let's go. And so you guys sometimes need to just take that leap of faith after, of course, doing the proper research and everything. And when you do that, it's not guaranteed you'll be successful every single time, but you're putting yourself in a position where you can be successful. If you don't even try to launch a product, you're not even in the game. So we can see that, it can definitely work out. So Anas, thank you so much for joining us. And let's see, maybe we'll link up in Peshawar or somewhere else in the world soon.
sounds good. Yeah, thanks, Bradley.
All right. So next up, we've got another guest here, more experienced. As far as I know, I've never really talked to him, much in depth. But Kareem, how's it going, man?
Pretty good, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Now, where are you located?
I'm in Houston, Texas.
Is that where you were born and raised?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. Been here my whole life. Can't complain.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, what did you like? What was your original career goal before you went on this path of e-commerce?
So originally, I think I was like a lot of brown people. We wanted to be doctors and lawyers. That's what we kind of really wanted to do, and that's where we kind of went to. And then I actually got my degree in finance instead, so I went the banking route.
And then how did you get turned on to e-commerce then? Like, how did you switch gears?
So I was working in banking, and then I went into kind of a tech job, and I was doing more systems. I became a systems analyst, and then I was just going through Facebook, and I came across the wholesale formula. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how I got into it. I ended up buying that class and learning everything from there. And then
What year is this about?
this was about 2016. So I
Okay.
was about a year out of college. I was doing my corporate life and I really did not like it. Doing that 9 to 5 was just not that much fun. So I kind of switched gears, got that program, and did that for about a year and a half. And then I was kind of hesitant to get into the private label business. And then with my brother and my sister in law, actually, we launched a private label business on Amazon. And I was still doing my wholesale stuff. And we started a shop on Etsy too. So we were kind of going full force on
When
all
was this?
marketplaces. This was 2017.
Also, just a year
So
later after you started.
just
Okay.
a year later.
All right. Now
Yeah, we
fast
kind of
forward to
noticed.
2022. Like, what do you think you're going to end? With however many accounts you're associated with, what do you think you're going to end this year? In gross sales, would you say?
About 20 to 25 million about this year.
And is it all private label now, or is it still mixed with wholesale, or what?
So it's all private label. So about in 2020, so me, my brother, and two of our friends that also sell on Amazon. Some of them have exits, and they've actually been selling for 10 years. We kind of got together and we were like, man, we're pretty stupid for not working together and kind of doing our Amazon stuff together since we have so much experience. And we actually started an umbrella fund. So we started buying businesses at that point and kind of growing and scaling those. So it's all of them together. We're going to be doing about 20 to 25 million.
So how many of that, if any, like are ones that you just started on your own, as opposed to ones that you took over?
So about four brands are the ones that we started on our own with my brother and my sister-in-law.
Okay, and so you're still any of them still around from like when you had first got into it in 2017?
Yeah, they're all still around, still doing 4 or 5 million a year in revenue, growing those and actually adding to a couple of those new brands as well.
What to you is like some of the biggest changes that you've had to pivot on, since you've been selling since 2016, 2017, some of the things that come to my mind that has changed, like incentivized reviews, search, find, buy, two-step URLs, inventory, issues. There's been a lot of either TOS changes or just general changes that have
Yeah.
affected the way Amazon sellers have to deal with things. What's some of the biggest ones that you'd say has affected you and your team's operations?
I think the biggest one is actually FBA fees. So I was reading some stat the other day that FBA fees have increased 30% since just 2020. So I know a lot of sellers were hit pretty hard this year, including us, was the change from dimensional to regular, from regular weight to dimensional fees. So we have a lot of large items that don't weigh much. So that kind of hurt us quite a bit. And that's kind of when we started focusing more or a lot more on our packaging and kind of condensing everything into smaller packaging and trying to get more stuff in small standard, small light, regular standard, and doing a lot of those changes. And it's kind of, we're reaping a little bit more of the benefits in this quarter by implementing it earlier in the year because Amazon had their increase in pick and pack fees for Q4 too.
Okay. Oh, in those niches where you're doing that, what are your competitors
Yeah.
doing, if any? Like, are they just, business as usual, or do you see them reducing their package size at all to stay competitive, or what's going on?
So some of them have started to, but a lot of them have just started hiking up their prices. So to
Okay.
compete with that decrease in FBA fees, they just had to go up in their prices and kind of not really rework their whole packaging. So a lot of it we had to condense using bubble mailers, using thicker boxes. So one of the biggest things was using thicker boxes. So there wasn't that bulge in the box, which Amazon, the Cubiscan usually picks up and then has a bigger, uh, either dimension one or the other way.
Okay. What other things are you doing that you would say, like for example, you weren't listening in, but before you, I was just interviewing somebody who was doing their first ever launch. They've been working for an Amazon company, or an Amazon agency, but they had never launched their own product, and they were just going through the things that a brand new seller would go through, and a lot of sellers out there, might be new or new-ish. That are just doing some of the standard things, but what to get to the 25 million mark, even though whether it's growing your own brands, whether it's purchasing others, you don't get there unless you're doing something that's a little bit unique and a little bit higher level than just a common Amazon seller. What would you say are some of the things that you guys are doing differently that's allowed you to scale to this kind of number?
I think one of the biggest things that people really overlook is doing your keyword tracking. A lot of people aren't doing that. And we use the Helium 10 keyword tracker, and we use those rocket ships to kind of on our main products and our main keywords to keep track of those, because there's a lot of people who don't really notice that or take that into consideration. And then whenever they see their sales go down, they don't know exactly where it's going down. And a lot of times it's maybe a new competitor came up on a certain keyword, or somebody's bidding a lot more. And as you know, especially in the past 2 years, PPC has kind of gone a little crazy and gone 2x what it usually is, 2-3x what it usually is. So you got to be really competitive and use your budget and the right keywords. And then I think one of the other things is kind of updating your content all the time. So we've been using Signalytics to do a lot of our content and rework a lot of our content. When we buy brands, a lot of times the content has never been worked on. And that's one thing, especially nowadays, is more of the images are for the customers, because I think probably more than half of us never even read the bullet points anymore. We just look at the images and probably go to the second or third one. And after that, we decide if we're going to buy the product or not. We usually don't even get to the sixth or seventh image. And also making sure you have your videos. There's a lot of brand videos that are converting quite a bit. They might not be helping you as much in sales rank, but they are, or keyword rankings, but they are helping you in sales and getting your brand out there a little bit more.
So like going back to what you were talking about, like keyword tracker. So what are you focused on? Where you are ranking organically, sponsored, or both?
So it's a little bit of both, right? So you want to make sure you're not necessarily spending all your budget on a keyword you're already number one organically on. You would want to spend it more on ones that you're kind of trying to fight for. And also in the keyword tracker, you can tell the search volume. You don't want to be spending $100 out on a day on a keyword that only has 50 search volume a month. It doesn't make sense. Unless it has 50 conversions on those 50 searches, then you definitely do. But knowing that search volume, the competing products, and kind of going after those specific ones that are going to help you gain the most momentum, gain the most rank in sales.
Have you noticed recently, actually the only people who notice this are the people who do use Boost, which is that rocket ship that he was talking about. But, every couple of years, it seems like there's a big wave of what we call the ASS, the Amazon Search Shuffle, where I don't know what goes on, but just, since Helium 10 is not just checking like one address and one browser, when we have Boost on, we're checking, different states and different addresses and different browsers and something. But then, usually nothing ever stays the same across the board. That's why, maybe you're looking on your browser, you might see rank 10 but Helium 10 might say 13 or something, but it's, kind of like around there. But then recently, at least I've been noticing some of the stuff I've had Boost and some of the other customers where that shuffle is happening, where all of a sudden, Amazon is throwing me on page 2 and 3 sometimes. Anything like that happening on your side?
Yeah, so we've been noticing that, especially this past weekend. I don't know if you've noticed, but Amazon took away the reviews. I think they were trying out something new and took away the reviews, I think, in the health and household category. And that kind of threw a lot of that keyword tracking and the Boost off. So what I usually do, and I have our brand managers do, is look at it on their own browser, try 3 or 4 different zip codes. And then also, as we all know, most of your sales come on mobile, not even on your computer.
Sure.
So making sure to look at that on a mobile device and using different zip codes over there really gets you that feeling if you're there or not.
Are you doing any kind of outside traffic? Like Google ads or influencer marketing, things like that.
We have seen a boost in some of our keywords and our products since doing that. Some it works on, some it doesn't, and we're trying to build out our influencer platform a little bit more, and kind of work on that, especially for Q4, and doing some Facebook ads and using Amazon attribution links on those Facebook ads to see if we can get some more traffic on there.
What's your targeting strategy? Like, do you try and target the words in Google that are like your main keywords on Amazon, hoping that there might be some residual rank juice that happens? Or do you just like follow data only on what you see in your Google Analytics?
No, so we actually use our Google Analytics keyword tracker.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, what we've kind of noticed is a lot of people still go to Google and put in like the caskets Amazon. I know you always bring up those caskets. So
Mm-hmm.
they always put Amazon still, even when they're searching in Google.
Yeah.
So we've been targeting a lot of those specific keywords. So we have like different campaigns that are specifically a keyword, then Amazon as a separate one, and then one that's just the keyword.
Okay, that's interesting. So, and then similar with what you do with Helium 10, you're using some kind of tracker. Like, hey, let me make sure my ad is showing up on page one of this Google result. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the, it's different metrics we use. Some people use tacos, some people use ROAS, some people use ACOS and things like that. But for the layman out there, if you were to compare, what it cost to get a sale on Google compared to PPC, like do you just try and make it kind of even, or do you find it's way more expensive to get the conversions on Google or vice versa?
I actually find it cheaper on Google, especially if you have the targeted keywords. But again, a lot of the times our goal is not necessarily to have a very good conversion on there. It's more to help our ranking on Amazon, because Amazon loves that external traffic. So if I can see my BSR getting better and better as I do more ads, then it's beneficial to me.
So, earlier in this, you mentioned, I don't know if you use the word frequently, but updating the listing. So my question is, what is the frequency? Whether you're doing it, whether you're using Signalytics to change images and change copy. Sometimes, in my opinion, like people ask me. I was just on a call, matter of fact, like an hour ago. So I was on like a one-on-one call with a Helium 10 Elite customer, and they were asking about updating the listing. I'm like, well, you don't want to like change your listing like every week, because sometimes it takes the algorithm a few days to recover, and if you're doing it every week, they won't know what you're going to screw things up. But do you guys have like a sweet spot where you're like, what, we need to kind of re-optimize our listing every 6 months or every 3 months or once a month? Let's take a look at it. Like what's your cadence?
So I think we usually try to at least do some A/B testing every 6 months, but it also depends on how the product's performing. Like if our conversions have gotten better, if they're starting to dip, or if our PPC is not converting as much, then we really want to hone in on that. And we have our weekly like brand calls for each brand, so we kind of go through the brands and see which products are declining if they are, and which ones are improving, and see if we did experiments on those. And if they are declining, then we kind of analyze, do we need to do an experiment? And we'll get an audit done by Signalytics and see if we can see kind of what's going on and pinpoint it and see if it actually is maybe it's not our image and maybe it's our price point and the market's kind of shifted.
You've had some brands that have been around for 5+ years. There's something that, Casey, a few years ago, I remember like a $1 billion seller summit or something had talked about. It was like, I forgot what it was called. Amazon death spiral. I think he coined it, where sometimes he said it seemed like, when he was at Thrasio, there'd be mature products that just like hit a wall for some reason. Like you can't get it, like it used to be always top of page one. And now it's like still on page one, but it's like 13, 14, but no matter what you would do, like it just can't go back up to like the top 5. Like with any of your mature products, have you ever kind of like hit a wall like that where even though you're converting like crazy, maybe in PPC, but the organic ranks just don't seem to be responding?
Yeah, we've had some brands or some products that do that, and it's just kind of making sure, and that's when you do a little bit more of the A/B testing and see if that helps you out. Because Amazon does like that, and making sure you're hitting those keywords like exact, maybe at the front of your title. That's when you're trying to change your title and make sure that that's indexing a little bit more using that ranking juice, like we were talking about, making sure you have that all the ranking juice in there so that Amazon picks it up. But there's some times where I wish we knew more and more about Amazon's algorithm, but at some point, if you're converting and it's still making money and still doing it, sometimes it's okay not to be at the top of the page. But you also know if it is converting near the same amount, people are scrolling down far enough on the page to get there.
The point is that, people shouldn't just give up. There's different things you can try, and just make sure you're doing everything you can. I think it definitely helps that you're sending the outside traffic and also trying different things. But some people just give up, and they're like, oh, I guess this product is done for. Don't do that.
Yeah, and sometimes you can do virtual bundles. You can pivot it, add something new to your product as a variation. Or it might be simple as there's some new colors out there and you just need to try some new colors.
We do this thing that we call the TST 30-second tip. Like, let's see if you can knock out two of them. Like what's something, you've been talking some general strategies here, but what's something specific that, one or two that you could say in 30 seconds or less, not both of them, but each one 30 seconds to a minute, like that. Again, like I'm looking for stuff that you think you do that, maybe 90% of sellers might not be doing.
Yeah. So actually, one of them is probably I'm going to hit back on that FBA fees thing. A lot of people aren't going back and repackaging their stuff. They're just trying to make the packaging look prettier. But when you're making it look prettier, make sure that you're condensing that product as much as you can to get that lower fees. Even a quarter of an inch can take you down $1, and that's going to kill you. That's going to improve your margins so much, and it's going to make you better than your competitor. Go out, buy a couple of your competitors' products, and just see what they're doing, how they're packaging. Or use the FBA fee calculator and see if anybody is lower than you on their fee. If they are, then you know that they're doing something better than you and they're making more money than you.
And do you have alerts, Helium 10 alerts activated for your products?
Yeah. So we have Helium 10 alerts that are kind of on there, and we use the Helium 10 profit tracker to look at our sessions conversions. We use a lot of it, almost every Helium 10 tool.
Well, I specifically asked about the alerts after you mentioned that about the dimensions. Like, have you ever noticed where Amazon will just randomly change one of your dimensions and make it big, and then all of a sudden it puts you into another tier, or maybe you're paying more money than you should? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, so that happens all the time because Amazon does the Cubiscans, and a lot of times they don't even pick up your new packaging. So it's good to make a separate SKU with your new packaging so that you can differentiate which one is the new packaging and which one's the old one. Or else you're going to get stuck in that cycle because you have one item that's left over in the old packaging. Amazon just, for some reason, it's just bad luck, and they keep scanning that one item over and over again when you have this whole new packaging that can save you $1 or $2. But yeah, doing the regular remeasurements, if something spikes up, use the alerts from Helium 10, keep track of them. If it goes up, remeasure it, and hopefully you'll get back to your lower fee, especially right now because fees have gone up another 5%.
Okay, yeah. So guys, I don't know what the number is, but 50 to 75% of listeners probably already have Helium 10, at least the Platinum plan. If you guys have the Platinum plan, you all have full access to alerts. So you're leaving money on the table, guys, if you're not taking advantage. It's literally free if you're already paying Helium 10. He's got $25 million worth of sales. He's got numerous ones where Amazon is changing dimensions. It happens to me. I'm a lot smaller seller than that. Happens to me all the time. Turn alerts on because you don't know how much money Amazon might be taking, based on maybe a wrong dimension. You got one more tip or strategy for us?
One of them is probably something that you guys have been using a little bit more is using the brand analytics with the search terms that Helium 10 has kind of moved into Magnet. So I've been actually paying attention to that a lot more since that those keyword data you can actually get. So if your product is not doing as well as last year, or if it's you're seeing some spikes, make sure to go into your brand analytics, look at those keywords and sort by your searches or your purchases. So you can see maybe there's a keyword that you don't even know. It's a random keyword that you've been hitting and you're not even advertising on it, and you're in the middle of the page and put a high bid on there and get to the top of the page, and that can make or break your product.
Awesome. All right. If anybody wants to maybe, reach out to you or see what you see what your other, your other company does, how can they find you on the interwebs out there?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Kareem Bai, or you can just email me, Kareem@umbrellafund.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge. I look forward to, seeing you at an, another Helium 10 event or social or something. Maybe Prosper next year. Will you be there?
Yeah, we'll be at Prosper. We'll probably be at Sell and Scale again too.
Awesome. All right. I'll see you at Prosper then, and then Sell and Scale in the fall. Talk to you later.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Bradley.